Senator Lindsey Graham is a fascinating guy. He is a powerful Republican senator who spends so much of his time making the world worse than he found it. When Lindsey Graham entered the scene of initially hating Donald Trump, pushing back against Donald Trump, saying we would never have Donald Trump as a president, and before you know it, he was carrying Trump's water too. There's just so much going on in the world that's bad, and it seems to be tied to people like Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell and others. So it's no surprise that Senator Lindsey Graham said what he said today about Gaza. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham suggested that Israel nuke Gaza. Now, I know you're thinking I'm probably pushing his words too far. I'm over-interpreting it. I'm assigning the worst possible meaning to something that he said. No. You don't understand. This man said that we should nuke Gaza. It was pretty unequivocal, black and white, what the man said. His comments came during an interview with Meet the Press on NBC. The Republican senator said that Israel should continue bombing Gaza. And he added, quote, when we were faced with destruction as a nation after Pearl Harbor, fighting the Germans and the Japanese, we decided to end the war by the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear weapons. It was the right decision. Now, unfortunately, this isn't the first time that somebody has said something like this. In fact, just last month, another congressperson said the same thing. Representative Tim Walberg was criticized when he tweeted, quote, we shouldn't be spending a dime on humanitarian aid. It should be like Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Get it over quick. So there's so many things wrong with this. Despite how the United States talks about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, for many people, Hiroshima and Nagasaki are not just awful acts of violence, but they are textbook cases of crimes against humanity and war crimes. But regardless of where you sit on the Hiroshima and Nagasaki legality in international law and custom, we certainly know that numerous innocent people were killed as a result of these bombings. The idea of these bombings, of course, Hiroshima and Nagasaki were tied to the idea that Japan had a nuclear program that it wasn't going to relinquish, that they were a looming threat, and that this was the only way to preserve life. This was the argument, at least, by the powers that be. That ain't what's happening in Gaza. That's not what happened. It's not what happened in Gaza. In Gaza, the very clear thing: the powerful, the country with all the cards, it's not the Palestinian state. It's not the Gazan government it's not the Hamas government in Gaza. It's Israel. Who has nuclear weapons? Israel. Who has the Iron Dome defense system? Israel. Who has the qualitative military edge? Israel. So how are we pretending somehow that the way to stop the violence or the way to achieve a kind of just, ugly, nasty, but ultimately just war outcome is to just bomb Palestinians until tomorrow, right? I mean, the idea that you would bomb Palestine. Let me take a step back. It ain't going to happen, right? We hope, right? There's no argument. There's no plausible argument for this. The human rights community is saying that just invading Rafah would be beyond the boundaries of decency and legality. But to suggest that Palestinians could just be blown away as a solution, as a serious solution from a senator, a sitting senator, a senior senator, an elder statesman in the Congress, says exactly where the U.S. stands. It's also a reminder of what's at stake if Trump becomes president again. As awful as Joe Biden is on this issue, as indifferent as he's been to the genocide in Gaza, Donald Trump is so committed to his romance with Benjamin Netanyahu that there's absolutely no way that things won't get worse under Trump on this issue. Again, Not telling you who to vote for, but what I am telling you is, um, whew, Lindsey Graham ain't speaking just for himself. Lindsey Graham is speaking for an entire movement of people who just don't believe the Palestinians are human. And the fact that you would invoke Hiroshima and Nagasaki, one of the most awful moments in our modern history, one of the most brutal and violent expressions of state violence and imperial violence, um, says a lot again about how they feel, about how Lindsey Graham feels about Palestinians, but also what we imagine to be a plausible and defensible response from Israel.